Hello all, this is Janae, your religious education family coordinator here, and I am coming to you today to share the lesson so we can still get our lessons done even though we're not in class. So, without further ado, here we go. Now first, before I go into March 22nd, I'm going to just touch bases on March 15th. Because there were some things that we had missed because of all this stuff going on. Now, before I even get into that, I just want to say how much I miss all of you so very much. I miss my kids. I miss the families. I miss you all, genuinely and truly. But I do support the decision being made and basically putting the entire world on a timeout. That's what I'm going to call it today. So, March 14th was National Pi Day. Now, why talk about Pi Day here at the UU congregation, you might ask? Well, here's why. First, our theme of the month is wisdom. Second, UUs made a list called the sources of our UU wisdom. Finally, because one of the sources of our wisdom is the use of science and reason and mathematics, and it falls into source. Now, it's also fun because we get to eat pie. Now, I don't know if anybody got a chance to eat their pie on National Pi Day, which was March 14th, aka 314. That would have been a perfect day to do so. It's always a great day to eat pie, though. Always. So, UU is a little unusual among religions because we talk about a variety of sources that actually support our wisdom. Our religions have one book like the Quran or the Holy Bible, or one main teacher like Buddha. Our UU people made a list of sources that we call the living tradition. So we all know that book. This is the book I was referring to. So one thing I also like to point out is that the list may be changed or modified. Now, just to point out a particular date that something was changed and or modified was 1986, when some UU woman wanted the cycles, our seasonal cycles of nature, to be recognized as part of the source of wisdom. So we all know today is the first day of spring. Happy spring equinox. Now, I know the energy in the air, because of what's happening in our environment, is not really reflecting the same energy as, rebirth, renewal. But I just want to remind all of us to still live in gratitude and be in a space where we are still focused on being in a space where we can be grateful for what we do have, for the people we do have around us. Even though times are literally squeezing everything out of us, I think it's the times in now that resilience is super important, and just remembering that, hey, even though our situation might be uncomfortable, we're just acknowledging that there are other people that experience even more on a greater scale that we can't even begin to fathom. So just remembering to stay in a space of gratitude. So what does that mean for us being a Unitarian Universalist? Well, UU congregations affirm and promote 7 principles. Now, those 7 principles, which we hold as strong values and moral guides. We live out these principles living out within the living tradition that we do have in this here book. And as we have seen through this book, comes from so many different wonderful and beautiful sources that actually resonate with everything that we do and the services that we provide. So the 6 sources our congregations affirm and promote. Here it goes. Direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to the renewal of the spirit and openness to the forces which create and uphold life. That's one. That's a big one, right? Seems very, very broad. Let's continue. Words and deeds of prophetic people which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and transform in the power of love. So when we think about people that have strong words of deed and prophetic people that speak with such wisdom, who comes to mind? Well, Buddha already came up at the top of the list. We can think of the one that we celebrate a whole day for, Martin Luther King. Last month was just Black History Month, and in January we celebrated his day because of the words of wisdom that he shared with the people that still live on to this day. Going on. Wisdom from the world's religions, which inspires us in our ethical and spiritual life. That's a biggie. That's a really big biggie. Think about how that actually applies to your everyday life and how things actually flow out that way. So, Jewish and Christian teachings, which calls us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves. Now, I think that's one of the most important things that is across many religions, spiritual followings, faith practices, beliefs, and so forth. If you love a person as you love yourself, loving a person that is next to you as you love yourself, you start to develop a compassion for that person. Not empathy, not pity, but compassion. And knowing that every single person has their own story. Whether that story is a bit more rough or bumpy than the other, that everybody has their own story. And everyone is operating from the space of which that story unfolded in their own existence. Having compassion, knowing that not everybody has the same tools mentally to get through certain things, but accepting that this person is operating from that space. Saying that also without judgment, because sometimes we can blur the lines of compassion and get into a space of judgment where now we are accepting them, but at the same time of acceptance, we are belittling them. So with that being said, loving your neighbor as yourself, I think, is one of the most important things that we here at UU affirm and promote. Super important. One thing that I feel that every single person on earth actually started to take heed to, that there'll be so many less quarrels and issues. And this might be a broad statement that I'm making, so I don't want anybody to take any type of any other but I do want to share that with you and how important that is. Now, next thing, Humanist teachings, which counsels to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science and warn us against idolatries of the mind and spirit. So being able to discern processes and spaces that we are operating from, and then allowing us to counsel and be around other people, and also knowing when to shh. That's important. Now, also, last but not least, spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. Now, that's going to bring me to this particular book, because I have a book that has been helping educate me with every single season celebration to this day. Now, I got to find it. Oh, there it is. This book is called Celestial Auspicious Occasions, Seasons, Cycles, and Celebrations. Now, this particular book entails so many different things. And we're just going to go to the first thing that I had actually tabbed, the spring equinox. You see how the earth is seemingly coming out of an egg, hinting the rebirth, and maybe the hint of Easter, and why in tarnations we're hunting Easter eggs? Who knows the beauty that the energy of this particular realm holds? No idea. So, going in. Now, I want those things to stick to your to stick inside your mind. And think about our UU7 principles. If you don't know them, it's important to learn them, because I don't want you to just think about it from a linear perspective of being just a you, but also recognizing how that applies in your everyday life as just being a person, being human in this space, and how important that is. So, without further ado, let's go and enjoy our meditation. Now that we're outside for this meditation segment, I just want you to just sit and relax. Sit and relax. Let yourself relax. Now take in a nice, slow, deep breath, and then let it out. Breathe in and out. Slow breathing in and breathe out, and pause. And let whatever you've been carrying around with you all day that you don't need right now, let it go. Just let it go. Let all of you, mind, body, and spirit, deeply and fully relax. Keep your life right here in the now. Feel the story of your own life come into your awareness. Your life is a story, each chapter from your experience. Spend a moment thinking of the early chapters of your life. What wisdom did you encounter? Now move into a new chapter of your life. What wisdom is there? In the silence, flip the pages of the story of your life and move through different chapters of wisdom you have gained from your life story. Now close the book in your mind, return to this space, unfolding your story of today. So, one thing I also want to recognize is that the outside sounds around us, we can't stop that. And sometimes it's very hard to stop the thoughts in our mind. Those thoughts that come in and out, I like to call it the monkey mind. Thoughts are just playing all over the place. It's hard to focus sometimes, even when we have an airplane passing or music blasting their music. Each of those individuals are living in their now. So take a moment and think about what that means to you. This is me sending my love and positive energy to you all. Now we're going to get to our story. Hello, we're back inside. So it can be quite humid, not gonna lie. Soul is out there beaming super bright, and that heat can sometimes be a lot. So I'm gonna go into the story that I have to share with you all today. And the story is an interesting story because when you hear words like heaven and hell, we automatically have like this interesting resistance to it for some odd reason. But I'm going to share this story with you. So, without further ado, here we go. Long ago, there lived an old woman who had a wish. She wished more than anything to see for herself the difference of what it means to be in heaven and hell. Now, the monks in the temple agreed to grant her request. They put a blindfold over her eyes and said, "First you shall see hell." The blindfold was removed, and the woman was standing. She was standing at the entrance of a great dining hall. Now, the hall was full of round tables, each piled high with the most delicious foods, meats, fruits, vegetables, breads, and desserts of all kinds. I'm talking brownies, cupcakes, marmalades, and all that stuff and beyond. What would you do if you saw that stuff? Anywho, the old woman noticed that in hell, there were people seated around those tables. Now, she saw their bodies were thin and their faces were gaunt and creased with frustration. Now, she didn't know why. Also, each person had a spoon. The thing was, each spoon was about 3 feet long. A spoon. I'm talking a spoon. I'm talking a long spoon. Like, this is my spoon that I cook with. This is my spoon that I eat cereal with. You see this? And this is my ruler, going on and on and on of how long this spoon was. Needless to say, if I had to use a ruler to measure it, that's pretty a long spoon. Now, she watched those people cry desperately because they couldn't even eat their food with those spoons so long. She said, "I've seen enough. Please let me see heaven." So again, the blindfold was put over her eyes. And now you shall see heaven. So the monk said and told. You got that? Said the monk. So for there she was again, in the same space, but things were different. Now, when the blindfold was taken off, she was confused. She stood there again at the center of the great dining hall, filled with round tables piled high with the same lavish feast. And again she saw there were people sitting out of arm's reach with food, those 3 feet long spoons. But as the woman looked closer, she saw the people were actually feeding each other with those spoons. So those same 3-foot spoons in the space that was hell, that no one could feed themselves with, the people were actually feeding each other with it. And guess what? They weren't thin, frailty, and crying. They were actually rather plump. And they were super happy. They had rosy and happy faces. And so she watched as the joyous sound of the laughter filled the air. And so the old woman was laughing too. She understood the difference between the heaven and hell for herself. The people in heaven were using those long spoons to feed each other. Now, one thing I want to give to you, last but not least, is if you're able to move outside, incorporate the elements of heaven from the story and help each other out, whether it's balancing on a stone or a log or digging a hole in the sand. If inside, consider providing some large motor movements, which your children can help each other, your families can help each other, such as balancing a rope or pretending it's a river, and how that actually helps when you're actually helping each other. Just like an ant, we're powerful as individuals, but if we work together, so many more amazing things that we can do. So I wanted to say that and share this lesson with you all, and I hope you was able to take away some from it. Now, with the email that I have sent out with the lesson plan, please take time to look at the links that are available for your help, for your betterment, for your assistance, however which way you want to cut the cookie. There are so many resources available to help get through these times. Please stay on the children's education, as this is the last quarter of the last semester of this school year. Make contact with the children's teachers and see what areas that they need help in, and help them in those areas. I know sometimes things can just be really confusing as adults. As an adult, as a parent myself, sometimes my daughter brings me home assignments where I just blank out. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm looking at. But there are still so many resources where we can actually use as virtually accessible to where we can still help our kids. Also, if your kids are through kindergarten through 5th grade, biggie, there are so many books that's super duper cheap. I'm talking $1 cheap. Okay? At the Dollar Tree, you can grab certain books like that. Keep them up, keep their reading up, keep their math up, work on measurements, work on time, multiplication, division. Parents of high school students, there are so many resources available. If you look at the last newsletter, there is a scholarship opportunity for juniors currently in high school. And then there are some scholarship opportunities for seniors. I think the range is from $1,000 to $5,000. Don't quote me on it, but if you just take a look at the resources that's available to you in the newsletter, just take a moment and just look through it. Click through it. I hope that this helps. Also, stock up on your vitamins. I went to the store the other day and I saw all the tissue was gone, but the vitamins were fully stocked. Grabbing all of the tissue is saying that there is a problem and we're just going to use as much toilet tissue as we can to clean ourselves. That's yeah, of course we got to clean ourselves. There are also people that also actually genuinely need it. There are still homeless people out there that don't have access to certain things. And we're engorging on these other things, whereas the preventative measures, such as vitamins, are still sitting on the shelves. In fact, are on sale. So, perspective is everything. Exist and live in gratitude. Hug the people you are around. Also be mindful of the practices that the CDC and everyone's ensuing. UUSP is monitoring closely all the changes that are being made in lieu of the COVID-19. I hope to see you all back on April 5th. Please note that Pinellas County schools are not open until April 15th. I miss you all. Take care. Until next time. This is Janae Johnson, your Religious Education Family Coordinator, signing off.